So today's video, I'm going to show you how to unlock your secret power source with one very simple tip. So the way we generate our movement in our golf swing and generate our power and our speed is we interact with the ground. And where a lot of golfers are so caught up about what's happening up here, if you can use the ground correctly for you, you're going to generate more power, more speed, more ball speed, and more distance. So there's three ways that you use the ground. So you move the pressure in the ground side to side, you twist into the ground, and you push into the ground. Now we all use all three, but predominantly most of us will dominate one of those sources. But if you're not sure which one, and I'm very fortunate, with my coaching, I use swing catalysts, so a couple of plates under there that show me where my pressure is in the ground, but also how much I use each one. So I can really focus in on finding out which one, how much golfers doing it, me included, and then really focus on that. But if you don't have access to this, these little things I'm going to run through today will help you uncover which is yours, and then by changing the thing at setup, it's going to help you be quicker and hit the ball further. So if I just hit 4 shots, and I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do different at address, we're going to show the club head speed up in the corner with each one, and then I'm going to go onto Swing Catalyst software, run through why each one's beneficial, and see does it give me what I need. So if I were to hit my normal swing, so normal width of stance, good strike, and we can see my pretty usual club head speed. So the thing I'm going to change, and it is a really simple thing, but you'll have to work through it and see which one works best for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go from my normal width of stance to much wider than before. Hit that, see what my club head speed does. So a little wider than normal. And I do like how that feels. That feels really good. And we see good club head speed, good distance. So the next thing I'm going to try is I'm going to go from my normal width of stance to be much narrower. So really narrow with the stance. Strike doesn't feel as good. And definitely you can see from club head speed, just down a little bit on what I would normally be. And the final one I'm going to do is I'm going to go my normal width of stance, but instead of my normal height, I'm going to kind of squat down a little bit more. So normal width of stance, squat down lower. That felt good. So definitely the wider stance and the slightly more squat feels good for me. Now I'm going to explain before we look at Swing Catalyst the difference there. So for argument's sake, let's say I was a predominantly side to side, the way I generate my pressure. If I make my stance wider, it gives me more ability to move around, but it maybe restricts my rotation and maybe restricts my push a little bit, not so much with the push. If I go narrower with the stance, I'm definitely restricting my side to side movement, still allowing to push a little bit, but much more rotation. And if I squat down more, I've still got ability to do a little bit of side to side, a little bit of twist, but it's much more push into the ground. So by changing the width of the stance, you've got that ability to potentially highlight 1 or 2 of those key areas of how you're going to interact with the ground, make you more efficient, and get you hitting the ball better. So let's go into the software. Let's look at my initial swing, because I would say, well, obviously I know, but potentially looking at those club head speeds, we'd say the side to side and the push will be my more dominant. But we'll look at my normal swing, and then we'll look at the 3 different width of stances and see, did I get out what I needed? Okay, so if I look at my normal golf swing, you can see from a 17.5-inch wide stance, this is how I use the ground side to side, this is how I rotate, and this is how I push. So from address, we can see as I get to the top of my backswing here, I've got my maximum push, pushing in that direction to go that way. Club changes direction, I get a nice twist into the ground, and I get my maximum push, maybe a little late for me to normal. And the little darker areas, hope you can see this on the screen, is PGA Tour average. So you can see side to side, I just creep into there, twist I'm a little under, and I normally do get my push just into there. But you can see certainly the side to side and the push, potentially my more dominant sources. So with the wider stance, I'm now just under 22 inches wide. As I move back, I still get my maximum side to side movement as the club changes direction, but instead of 14%, I'm now 18%, so that's increased. Interestingly, my ability to then twist gets into my PGA Tour average, and even my push is a little bit better. So that improved all three, but really saw the biggest increase in my side to side movement. So my narrow stance now at 13 inches wide. Can see at the top, much less, only 10% in the side to side. The twist, actually down anyway, but more dominant out of there. And then again, the push into the ground a little bit lower. So we can definitely see there, when my stance is narrow, even though my twist then becomes the most dominant, it actually robs me of my two major sources of creating speed. Now, final one is the width of stance normal, but a little bit more squat down into the ground. So you can see 17 inches wide. As I change direction, there's my 14%, which is the same. My twist about the same, but all of a sudden now, pressing 177% of my weight into the ground. So definitely increasing the push much better. Right, so obviously using Swing Catalyst, I can get some really in-depth look at how I'm using the ground there. But you could see when I hit the shots at the start, the quickest club head speed came from me being a little bit more squat into the ground. And I would definitely say in my swing, I don't use the ground enough. But you've got to practice with those. And then when you find something that helps you create that speed, it's much easier to integrate that through the bag. So if you are somebody who, when you stand a little bit wider, it doesn't feel normal, which it won't because it's different from what you already do, but you'll start getting more and more comfortable using the ground better and better, more efficiently for you. And then you can stand there nice and wide and really feel that you get some great speed without even feeling that you're putting any more into it. Now, you could definitely see for me, nothing in it for me being more narrow, which is interesting because as a kid, definitely played most of my golf narrow. And I would say if you watch my older videos, definitely my stance is more on the narrow side, but I definitely get the most from being a little wider and maybe a little bit more squat down. So once you've run through that and you can start learning how you're using the ground better, because it's such an in conversation nowadays about can we swing quicker, can we hit the ball further without trying to smash it. But if you can get there, and if you're like me then, maybe a little wider, a little bit lower down at address, feels powerful, it feels really, really repeatable. And then if I can hit the ball straighter and more accurately, just because I'm able to use the ground better, well then, that's becoming my perfect golf swing by unlocking my secret power sources in my golf swing.